Audrey Bohannon,
Present.
Michelle Bolton,
Present.
Danny Seiden, Jackie Elliott, Randall Garrison, Chairman Mark Gaspers,
Present.
Todd Graver, Larry Hofer,
I'm here.
Scott Holman,
Present.
Alex Horvath, Sean Hutchinson,
Present.
Willard James, Kristen Mackey, Deborah Margraf, David Martin, Bobby D. McCormick, Carla Moran,
Present.
Brian Rice,
Present.
Stephen Richer, John Walters,
Present.
Sandra Watson, Thomas Winkle,
Present and alert.
Daniel Witt,
Present.
Supervisor Bill Gates. Okay, thank you.
Chairman Walters,
Present.
this is Dennis Anthony. I didn't hear my name called.
We did at the beginning, Dennis. We got you. We see you there. Thank
Okay,
you for noting that. What's the number? Okay. Well, welcome everybody to our first council meeting. I want to thank everybody for their investment of time in supporting the work of our workforce system, both here with our state teams and with the local areas, and all of you are joining on as well. I am super excited for 2023. I think we have a lot to celebrate as a state on what we're going to be able to achieve together. Stacy and our team here have had a lot of chance to the past 6 months learn from other states, kind of see the direction of our state. And I just could not be more excited for what I know is the great work that you all are doing across the state and for what we can achieve, taking it to the next level and be best in class across all state systems in the United States. I would like to particularly welcome all of our new council members. We have a moment on our agenda to introduce you and hand it over to you to introduce yourselves. And we'll get to that in a few minutes. First, I want to welcome everybody as well for a chance to share what we've had as a tradition here in sharing some success stories that our teams gather from across the state. And so I want to highlight that as well as we get started. First success story comes from Arizona at Work from Yavapai County with the youth services as well as Title I and NACOG support of 2 women who utilized the job services, which led to a successful career pathway. Candace had a dream of becoming a cosmetologist, never thought possible due to the expenses that seemed to be a barrier for her. She visited with Arizona at Work Yavapai County and worked with the Title I NACOG staff, assisted her with researching this career pathway for potential employers that she could interview with, developed her long and short-term goals and the resources to support her. Candace was able to attend and successfully complete her training and now owns a successful salon in Verde Valley and really attributes the success to that teamwork that she was supported by with Arizona at Work Yavapai County. So congratulations to the Yavapai team. And then Andrea first learned of Arizona at Work Yavapai as a young individual. She took part in the Summer Youth Employment and Training Program and was matched up with the Cottonwood Chamber of Commerce to gain work skills for her future and her career pathway. She graduated high school, went on to college, gained permanent employment, but like many young individuals, wanted to explore more than just her hometown and move to a nearby city. But after doing so, found herself back in her hometown, returned to Arizona at Work Yavapai County for assistance and guidance with further training, and then coincidentally landed with the Cottonwood Chamber of Commerce with an exciting job training position, and has now moved on to be Cottonwood Chamber of Commerce Director of Operations. So again, congratulations to Andrea and to our Yavapai team for being there for individuals who need it. So as you are on the line and hearing of these two, think of the good success stories that you all know of, and please get them to our team. We want to highlight those and always keep first and foremost in our minds the work that affects our fellow Arizona citizens. Call to the public. At this time, we will open for public comment. The Workforce Arizona Council welcomes presentations of no more than 3 minutes in length. As a reminder, members of the council may not discuss items that are not on the agenda. Therefore, action taken as a result of public comment will be limited to directing staff to study the matter or scheduling the matter for further consideration and decision at a later date. If anyone present wishes to address the council, please raise your hand in the Zoom window or indicate in the chat. Will be unmuted to speak.
I'm not sure if you can see my hand raised. This is Terry Drew.
All right, Terry.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and members of the council. Thank you for allowing me a moment to just give you an update on the Arizona Workforce Association. I wanted to remind the council that the association has been moving fast and forward since 2001. We do represent 9 local areas in the state of Arizona. We have a common mission to work on best practice, work on common problems and solutions, and to be innovative, as it's stated in the Workforce Innovation and Opportunities Act. Some of that innovation this year has led us to developing a white paper. We know that there's been significant changes in leadership at the state level, both in the governor's office and DES and the legislature. And that white paper will demonstrate the work of the WIOA from across the state and talk about some of the challenges that we have as a state in terms of labor shortages. And with most recently, we were able to identify recent data, changes daily, 233,000 jobs available with 198,000 applicants available to take those jobs. And so we know and recognize that we need to work continuously on developing the labor opportunities in Arizona. And I want to thank Stacy Faulkner for meeting with us on a regular basis to help us know what's going on from the OEO and ACA and WIOA. And then also for Sarah Agostino, a new member to the DES team, for meeting with us this morning and helping us strategize and learn what her goals and priorities to carry this system forward are. And Mr. Chairman, thank you for the time.
Thank you, Terry. Thank you to you and to the work of the association and representing the 9 areas. Thank you for that public comment. Any others that we're seeing? No. Okay, we're not seeing any others. And our quorum number? We have quorum. Fantastic. So then we'll proceed to approval of the minutes from our November 29th, 2022 fourth quarter full council meeting. I trust the council members have had the time to look through the minutes from our last council meeting. Do I have a motion to adopt the minutes from our November meeting?
Motion to adopt.
Thank you, Mr. Walters. Second.
Second, Kathy Raymond.
Thank you, Kathy. All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed, say nay. Hearing none, the minutes pass. All right, with that, just so individuals are aware, I've really appreciate the chance as chair to know that my knowledge is extremely limited. And really the only success that I'll have is the fact that we have all of you surrounding us, both from our state teams and from our council members. To try and further that, in that I know how much I don't know, have asked our team and appreciate Aaron Gallagher's help with this to set up calls with as many of our council members as we could get scheduled prior to this first quarter meeting. And I have learned a tremendous amount from all of you. And I will like to do the same second quarter, that we'll be reaching out to our local areas again, with the same intent, just want to hear what's going on. But one of the things that came from that discussion is knowing how important apprenticeships are to our state and to our success going forward, and what an amazing team and leadership we have, that we wanted to get it back on the agenda to highlight the great work that's happening with apprenticeships in Arizona, and just make sure that for those of you that are new to the council in particular, that you have a chance to hear directly from just some tremendous teammates and experts that we have. So with that, Dennis Anthony and Willie Higgins will be presenting on registered apprenticeships, and just my gratitude to both of you for doing so and for your expertise and work for our state. Dennis, Willie?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Dennis Anthony here. I am the chairman of the State Apprenticeship Council here in Arizona. My day job, I'm the manager of technical and safety training for Arizona Public Service Transmission Distribution Division. And we just kind of wanted to, a couple times a year, just kind of update you on the work that the apprenticeship office is doing. The Department of Economic Security Office of Apprenticeship is led by their program lead, Willie Higgins, who has done very good work the last several years here in the state in that position. But wanted to just let you know, I don't think a lot of people are aware of some of the numbers that we have in apprenticeship. Currently, we have 5,220 registered apprentices in 12 different industries. We have a total of 240 active programs in 110 occupations. We are doing a lot of expansion and outreach. There is currently a healthcare accelerator with Maricopa County and the National Intermediary Healthcare Career Advancement Program, November of 2022. And there's more of those planned in 2023 with that group. There was also an accelerator with Maricopa County and the Arizona Manufacturing Expansion Program scheduled for March the 8th of this year. A child care development program with Central Arizona College in cooperation with the Department of Economic Security Child Care Agency. That's been recently registered as an apprenticeship program. Some other planned expansion and outreach. The apprenticeship team is co-hosting with Fresh Start Women's Foundation and the Women's Bureau San Francisco office for an event listed as Career Jumpstart for Women on March the 10th. The state universities are also actively working with the apprenticeship office on a teacher's apprenticeship program. NAU, ASU, and GCU are all actively engaged with the Office of Apprenticeship. We have community college partners, Arizona Western College, Pima Community College, Central Arizona College, and Gateway Community College are all intermediary sponsors of apprenticeship. I'd also like to invite you, if you have any questions or anything, we do have Willie Higgins with us on the call, and he can answer any questions directly about this. So thank you for your time.
Willie, anything you want to add first before we open it to questions?
Yeah, I'd just really like to add, thank you, Dennis. Thank you, Chairman Gaspers, for the opportunity of addressing the council. Just so everybody knows, I love to give everybody a history lesson of registered apprenticeship in the state. You know, this was created under a bill that was signed by Governor Osborne in 1941. So we have an active apprenticeship since June 16th, 1941 in the state of Arizona. So that's a good history lesson for everybody to know that this wasn't just created in the past few years. A phenomenon that's been happening here, and I've expressed this to our leadership, I can't explain this, but since October 1 in the federal year, that's what we use the RAPID system, which is a registered apprenticeship partner system for DOL. We've added 1,220 apprentices since October 1 until today. And actually the numbers we give Dennis for that were 5220, and it is actually up to 5240 as of this morning. And so we've got now, and we added another program since. So unexplainable, but we're just reaching out and we're growing, and we're just be glad to work with all of you and make more apprenticeships for Arizona. So thank you for the time. We really do appreciate it.
Thank you, Willie. Questions for Dennis or Willie? Thomas?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Appreciate it. You know, Dennis and Willie, really appreciate the two of you. Just really want to say on behalf of the mill vets out there, the military service members that are transitioning out, and on behalf of the veterans that have transitioned out, maybe, you know, a year or more, appreciate your efforts to consistently over years, really the past decade, that I've been aware of, and probably more than that, been reaching out to them. And I know there's some really good stories that happen because we hear about them, and just wanted to say appreciate everything you're doing. Thanks.
Thank you, Thomas.
Thank you.
Thank you, Thomas. Any other questions or comments? Well, thank you to you both. And again, just thank you for all the work that you do and then across the system, and really encourage all those that are on the line and listening that, you know, if you have questions or thinking about how apprenticeships might help in a particular local area or with particular industry, please do reach out and let us know how we can help support y'all. Thank you both. All right, moving on to our workforce report. Stacy Faulkner will lead discussion on updates and our report out. My apologies. At the start, though, we wanted to get a chance to welcome and introduce our new council members. And so I'd also like to just give a chance to hand it over to those that are here on the line to briefly introduce yourselves as well. So Scott Holman from TSMC. Scott, I believe is on the line.
I am. Thank you very much for the opportunity today and the invitation to be part of this awesome council. My name is Scott Holman. I put myself on video. I was off because I was trying to eat lunch while I was listening. So you guys didn't have the exposure to that, which is probably a good thing. Scott Holman, Director, Head of HR for TSMC here in Arizona. About 35 year plus, maybe 36 now in the semiconductor industry. Led several HR organizations across my career. 22 years at Intel, about 7+ or so at Micron up in Boise, relocated to the Valley last October. So fairly, I should say I'm a returnee. We spent about 20 years here in the Valley previously. So returnee, now back in the Valley supporting TSMC. And I think all of you heard in the press what our workforce needs are, which is why it's pretty exciting to be part of this group of people, and everyone's working on the same thing, trying to find jobs and create opportunities for people that are in need of jobs. And we're here with the jobs, so we're excited to be part of this. And again, thank you very much for letting us be part of it.
Thank you for your investment in the state, Scott, and for being part of this council. We want to be here to support all the growth and opportunity that exists. And likewise, similarly, across the semiconductor, I want to welcome Michelle Bolton. Michelle?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Hello, everyone. Michelle Bolton, and I'm the Director of Government Relations for both Arizona and New Mexico for Intel, but I do sit here in the state of Arizona. Have spent nearly 30 years in the government affairs world and have had wonderful interaction with the Department of Commerce, the preceding organization of the ACA and the ACA, all the way up through now, and just looking forward to being a part of this group and learning and sharing of knowledge. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Michelle. And Daniel Witt from Lucid.
Yeah, hi, everyone. My name is Daniel Witt, and I head up the state and local public policy for Lucid, actually across the country. But as most of you are aware, we have a very large investment in the Casa Grande area, and are close to actually tripling the size of our facility later this year. So my journey to this group runs straight through that particular investment and the need for workforce that will be increasing continually just outside of the Valley, or as part of the extended Valley. And so we're thrilled to be participating. I'm thrilled to be here. This is a personal area of passion, and looking forward to working with you all. I should say I've got about 10 years in the EV industry. I've worked 7 years with Tesla before then, helped to site the battery factory, the first battery factory in the Reno area. And so have some experience working with the various educational institutions in that state on building a similar workforce. So again, look forward to working with all of you on the matters that lie ahead to better train the Arizonans for the future economy. Thank you.
Thank you, Daniel. Appreciate all of your company's partnership with Central Arizona, and excited for the expansion to come and how we can support you. Sean Hutchinson.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. Sean Hutchinson, I'm the director for the Phoenix Electrical JATC apprenticeship program. Very happy to be here on this board. I'm also a local workforce board member from Maricopa County. I've been involved with workforce for quite some time. Actually, quite honestly, I've been involved with apprenticeship since graduating this apprenticeship back in 95. I started teaching here in 96, and I've been attached to apprenticeship training ever since. Our program is one of the largest in the state. We're going to go over just over 700 apprentices, many of which are learning their trade at TSMC, Intel, Lucid. Our apprentices are out there with you guys, so I'm happy to be here on the board with you. Yeah, we're a nonprofit trust fund apprenticeship program. We're the oldest in the state. We've been a registered program with the state of Arizona since 1943. We are expanding our numbers, obviously not just because there's a lot of work. We're happy the work is here to support this, but apprenticeship training is to make sure that we have a workforce for the future. Nothing will derail this economy faster than the inability to build these new factories for these new upcoming and incoming industries. So we're here to expand our ability to do so. We've expanded to a second campus recently. And for those of you around the valley for a while, if you remember where the Channel 5 TV studio is, where Wallace and Ladmo was filmed and all of the other TV newscasts and all, we are now the occupants of that facility. So we're expanding our labs and our hands-on experiences and our clean room experiences and things like that, and trying to teach our apprentices the work practices of a lot of the up and coming industries, and trying to keep up with that side of the sector. So like I said, I'm real happy to be here and be a part of this board. I intended to be there in person today. Sorry, Mr. Chair, I'm not a big fan of these kind of online meetings, but next meeting I'll be there. But nice to meet you all, and look forward to working with you.
Well, welcome, Sean. We appreciate you and appreciate the discussion we've already had, and lots that I've got a chance to learn from you already. So thank you for all that you and your team are doing. I don't believe we have Recorder Richer or Danny Seiden. So that's it for new introductions. On workforce vacancy and our balance of membership, we do have several that have made recommendations to the boards and commissions, and are waiting to hear on there's work there. So we will hopefully by second quarter have more to share in terms of individuals joining the council as well. Stacey, anything else there?
No, that's it. All right, thank you. All right, so I wanted to do a few introductions in the broader workforce team here in Arizona. So Sarah Augustino has joined the Department of Economic Security team. She is the Program Oversight and Support Administrator for one of the teams that really focuses on WIOA and workforce in general. So Sarah, if you wouldn't mind just telling us a little bit about what you are charged with, that would be fantastic.
Sure. I think I don't have to push it because it's great. Okay, perfect. Thank you again, Stacey, for the opportunity to say hello to everyone and to thank you for welcoming me into this space. About a month and a half into the role, and excited to bring my background in strategy development, continuous improvement, implementation, and stakeholder engagement into this space, and really being that thoughtful connection between our local area boards and the work happening in connection to decisions moving forward and opportunities to really bring best practices into the state. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Sarah. Next slide. So for those of you that do not know Kalu Wilson, I would like to welcome Kalu back to the Office of Economic Opportunity and ACA, Arizona Commerce Authority, as the Workforce Administrator. And she's here in the room with us today, so I'm going to hand it over to you to tell us a little bit about what you're doing.
Thank you, Stacy. Hello, everyone. As Stacy mentioned, I'm Kalu Wilson, Workforce Administrator, and I did serve in this position a year ago. I did leave for a year and joined Amazon, and I worked on national workforce programs for Amazon. And that was a great experience to see firsthand how industry is looking to tackle workforce issues. And I'm looking forward to bringing that back to the ACA and OEO in our workforce system here. I'm grateful to have Stacy. She and I have worked together in the past. And so she will be leading the workforce system and the council and all of that. I will be focused heavily on our industry partners and our businesses and supporting ACA's workforce strategy. And so I will, be looking at how we build future talent pipelines for the future, learning and leveraging what we know from our customers at the ACA and our industry partners, and bringing that back and informing economic development and workforce development priorities here in the state. So thank you. And I'm excited to see some new faces, and I look forward to meeting you all soon someday.
Thank you.
Welcome,
Kalu.
Cliff.
All right, so I wanted to briefly touch on a few of the projects that that the OEO workforce team will be taking on. We have received some reverted funding from DES, and though it has a very short time frame, the funds need to be spent by September. We have some pretty robust projects that we are investing in. So the first project is in partnership with Westmec. The OEO team is investing $250,000 into CTE programming. So this funding will focus specifically on curriculum for new programs in the semiconductor and electric vehicle lithium battery manufacturing industries. And it will really help with not only the curriculum, but staffing, supplies, teacher salaries, and equipment. So we're very excited to get that kicked off here in the upcoming weeks. The next project, we're going to be investing in broadband. This is a $300,000 investment in partnership with Yuma County and Arizona Western College. So this initiative will focus on fiber optic certification, where we will help certify individuals to work in that industry. And it will also have a significant focus on the job training, work-based training, job placement, support services, and it's going to serve the local employers of Yuma County. So some of those employers are APS, Spectrum, Allo, and CenturyLink. The next project we're going to kick off is in partnership with our friends at SciTech Institute, and we're going to focus on STEM programming. So this is really important to our youth. It's going to be a $100,000 investment into a statewide network where the SciTech team will actually develop these hubs, workforce hubs within some of our local areas that will really help connect education, civic and community institutions, and the employers and the participants that we serve under WIOA to ensure that they have full understanding of what's available to them and the potential to be part of a skilled and knowledgeable workforce. That should also be kicking off within the next couple of weeks. The Northern Arizona Research Project is a $100,000 investment. And for those of you that are aware, the mines are going to be shutting down soon. I think the plan is that they will begin shutting down as early as 2024. And so we really wanted to be able to understand what that landscape is going to look like in those northern areas, and where do we need to potentially build out some programming, where do we need to focus on some potential businesses that want to relocate, and how do we really ramp up those efforts to satisfy their recruitment. So that research project will also kick off in the next couple of weeks. Many of you have attended previous meetings where we had a presentation from Jennifer Meller on Elevate Ed AZ. The Arizona Commerce Authority has invested $5 million in this partnership with the Phoenix Chamber Foundation. And it's really going to support an initiative to prepare individuals for college and career through stronger alignment between education, business and industry, and the community. The OEO workforce team will be managing this project, and we have incorporated the Arizona Career Readiness Credential Program into the partnership. And so the individuals that will take advantage of Elevate Ed AZ will also be entered or registered into the ACR system with the potential to receive that credential. The Good Jobs Academy is something that the OEO workforce team will be applying for by March 14th, I believe, of 2023. What this is going to do for us is allow us an opportunity to partner with the Department of Labor to develop a team of 5 individuals regionally that will gain technical assistance in learning how to really develop good quality jobs in our state. So we determined that we would take the regional approach and really focus on the semiconductor industry. I'm putting together that application, and we should have that submitted here in a few short weeks. DOL will be providing all expenses paid for those 5 individuals to travel to DC to get some of that hands-on technical assistance. So it's a very exciting opportunity for us and our state with everything that we have going on in the semiconductor industry right now. The next thing I'm very excited to share is we will be putting on the OEO workforce team in partnership with a DES and a few of our local boards. We'll be hosting a 2023 Arizona Workforce Summit. This is something brand new for our state. You should all be receiving a save the date soon. The event's going to be held on June 29th and 30th at the Desert Willow Conference Center. And it's really going to bridge the gap and create an opportunity for individuals to learn more from National Governors Association, who will be present, and the National Association of Workforce Boards, who will be present, to teach us a little bit more about, workforce and economic development policy, economic development in general, education, and really, what a regional approach can look like. And then they'll share some best practices, and we'll jump into some strategic and state planning. So that's going to be a 2-day event. We're hoping to have a great turnout. We've budgeted up to 300 individuals each day, but the focus will be on our Workforce Arizona Council and our local workforce development boards and partners. And then last on our projects and events that are new for us here on the team, just a small update on ACRC because it's really starting to take off. Andy Ridley from our team has developed an employer outreach plan and has been heavily engaging with employers across the state. He has also recreated the occupational profiles that will soon be, if not already, uploaded to the ACRC website. Those will help guide employers with use of the ACRC program. And then I really wanted to give a shout out to Yuma County because last Friday, I believe, they hosted a live webinar for ACRC. And I think they had about 40 individuals attend, which I think is a pretty great turnout for a first webinar. But they had focused on the ACRC program's assessment tool and how that reduces turnover and optimizes training by integrating it into the hiring process. And it really had a strong focus on upskilling of your current team and potential new hires. So thank you to Yuma County and Andy for continuing your great work with ACRC. The last 2 things I just want to talk briefly about is the 2023 NOB Forum that is coming up here at the end of March. There are several individuals from our boards and the OEO workforce team that will be attending that conference. It's always a great conference to attend because they do provide specific and practical examples about how WIOA can be weaved into, a lot of different opportunities to utilize braided funding. And of course, all of our national experts are at the conference to provide technical assistance and, best practices and deepen our understanding of WIOA. There are 2 areas that actually submitted for a Trailblazer Award this year. So I'd like to recognize Pima County and Pinal County for their submissions. The Trailblazer Award really honors the efforts of an area that models, stellar programs and partnerships, which have transcended the expected and achieved outcomes for our workers, businesses, and communities. And it really serves as an award that would, notice those areas as a leader in adopting the changes envisioned in the WIOA system. So I wanted to say best of luck to those 2 areas, Pima and Pinal counties. I hope Arizona walks away with the award this year. So good luck to you both. And then last week or the week prior to last week, 2 weeks ago, I had the opportunity to attend the NGA Winter Symposium. That's the National Governors Association Winter Symposium with a member of our workforce team here at OEO and also Nancy Meaden from DES. And those opportunities, again, are always very exciting and robust to learn what other states are doing, kind of talk about some challenges, some successes, and then gain the technical assistance from NGA on how our board could be best in class. So I had a lot of takeaways, and I'm very excited to maybe implement some of those strategies for our state so that maybe we could be, setting a national best practice. Next slide. And then the last thing that I want to report on, I know that the deadline is not until March of 2024. However, the WIOA state plan for the 2024 to 2027 timeframe is in progress. For those of you that have ever participated in this type of a plan, it does take the good part of a year or more to coordinate everyone and get that written, send it out for public comment, review it, get the council's approval. So this is a timeline that was submitted by our partners at DES. And right now we are in the planning and gathering stages of data. We have, as a strategic plan work group, determined what we're going to be recommending for in-demand industries and occupations. And we have revised our mission and vision, which you'll hear a little bit more about later on in today's meeting. But just wanted to give you a high-level overview of what that timeline looks like. The council will be doing their review of the plan after public comment around February of 2024. And then I don't think that they've released the guidance on the due date yet, but typically it's around March 15th of 2024. So we are getting a head start on that. We have plenty of time. I know DES is taking a very engaging approach this year by creating different work groups, and they really want to hear from our stakeholders and our partners and our boards on their input for the state plan this year. So I'm very excited to get to partner on that with them. And that is the last of my updates. I would welcome any questions at this time.
Thanks, Stacey. Before we open up for questions, first, just for those of you who haven't participated in state plan development in the past, I would fully encourage you. We have a great team working on it, but what's part of the process and what's a great part of the process is just the expertise that you're bringing to us as a state from your respective industries, and not just looking at data from an economist perspective, but the insight that you have as to what's coming and how we can make sure to build that into the plan so that our workforce system is ready to respond for the future and not just what has previously occurred. Also, humbly, I think Stacey forgot to mention that at the NGA conference, she was voted on and appointed onto the executive committee for the National Association of Workforce Directors, if I got that title right. But congratulations, Stacey. That's huge honor. We're super proud of you and the entire team. And I think it's a reflection of recognition by other states of the great work that you and the team are doing. So congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
Questions or comments for Stacey? All right, proceeding on. Thank you for that, Stacey. We will discuss our bylaws. Kennedy Riley from our team doing great work there. We'll discuss new Workforce Arizona Council bylaws for consideration.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. So as many of you are aware, we made some changes to our council structure, which then required us to make some updates to our bylaws. So the main updates that we focused on were updating and developing a new structure for the executive committee. Because we moved away from the work group or the committee structure and moved to a work group structure, that caused us to need to add an election process, and then adding in the positions of a vice chair and a second vice chair, including our core WIOA title partners, and then 3 additional members selected by our chair. And we'll be having elections today, so we'll talk a little bit more about that later. And then we added in some language to include the creation of our work groups. So bylaws are really important. They help govern our council. So these updates are going to help us move things along and do some really great work. Do I have any questions?
And I would just start by saying thank you, Kenny, for the great work there and the expertise you brought to this team on bylaws and for our policies. As for those of you that are new, we did change our structure last quarter relative to committees, because we want to position this council to be, again, best in class and what we've learned from other states, to open up to more of a working group structure, to be more innovative and nimble. But none of the work that we had previously done through the committees goes away. And we needed to have a robust executive committee to be able to properly do the work that was being done in those committees. So huge kudos for those willing to step up to that opportunity, presuming that this council does approve the bylaws change. And I know we've had discussions with some, and we'll let that discussion take place in terms of the structure. Again, knowing as much as that I don't know, having a structure that allows for a vice chair, a second vice chair, I find critical. I don't want us as a council to be in a position where I'm the only one from a council leadership perspective knowing where we're headed. And also there's a tremendous amount of work that the team does that we see presented to us, but being part of the discussions offline and diving into the details has given me a fuller appreciation of everything that's occurring on the local areas and within the state system, and would benefit from other council member leadership to be with us on that. And secondarily, just for those of us who are volunteering as council, all of us, knowing that our day job can take over, to be able to not delay or cause any churn in our scheduling, and a vice chair or second vice chair to be able to just step right in and keep us proceeding forward. So with that, any questions before we consider a vote to move to the structure? Or comments? Okay, hearing none. Do I have a motion to adopt the bylaws presented by Kennedy and included in your meeting notice to position us with a vice chair, second vice chair, and our WIOA title partners, as well as 3 executive committee members?
So moved. This is
Ms. Wickle, thank you. Second?
Walters, second.
Thank you, John. All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed say nay. Hearing none, motion is adopted. Bylaws are adopted. Thank you, Kennedy, for all of that great work. All right, proceeding forward, we'll continue with Kennedy on our Workforce Arizona Council policy revisions. Note we'll have a vote following the discussion. Again, for those council members who are new and for those that we've had a chance to talk through, we have started the work last year on a number of council policy revisions. Again, just trying to make sure with our structure as a state system within OEO and DES, and also looking across the state. We appreciate Ken Mall's good guidance and NGA workforce team wanting to make sure that our policies were there to enable us as a state team and our local areas and not be a hindrance. So that work continues this year. Kennedy, over to you to present where we're at now.
Great, thank you. So as Chairman Gaspers mentioned, we've had input from Ken Mall, our internal team, and then we've worked really collaboratively with our partners at DES. So we're going to review 5 policies today. I'll quickly go over just the background of the policy and some high-level changes that we've made. The policies have all been attached to the presentation too, so if you'd like to read them, you definitely can. So the first policy that I'm going to talk about is our conflict of interest policy, which establishes guidelines for conflict of interest, firewalls, other internal controls under WIOA for our boards and entities who serve in more than one role in our system. So this was not released for public comment because we didn't make any changes to the actual policy language. We just reviewed the policy to ensure it was still in alignment with WIOA and our Arizona regulations, and then it was renumbered and a citation was added in. Any questions on this policy? Okay. The next policy, a lot of you may be familiar with this. This has been talked about quite a bit. It's our brand style guide policy. So this provides information and direction required under WIOA regarding how Arizona's workforce system stakeholders must use our Arizona at Work brand. So we received public comment changes from this. So we updated the policy to include Arizona Department of Education in the scope. We added in a reference to clarify that in Arizona, our one-stop partners are referred to as Arizona at Work partners. And then we added in some additional clarifying language to ensure everyone was using the branding appropriately. You may remember we added a new logo, which is being created right now, and that will be sent out with our new brand guides shortly. Any questions? All right, so our next one is the MOU and IFA policy. So that would be the Memorandum of Understanding and Infrastructure Funding Agreement, which provides our local boards and other workforce system partners instruction and guidance on how to administer our Arizona at Work Job Center service delivery. So we received some great public comments on this. So we were able to amend the policy to add in some comprehensive language regarding the agreement developed between the board, our one-stop partners, and the chief elected officials relating to the overall operation of our one-stop system in each local area. And then we also amended some language to include methods to ensure all partners of the MOU IFA comply with the agreed upon initiatives, processes, procedures, and vision as defined by our local boards. Any questions? Okay, and then we also reviewed our WIOA statewide monitoring policy. This policy establishes the roles of the council, Arizona Department of Education, our Department of Economic Security, ensuring that we're complying with WIOA, the regulations, our council policies, and how we're implementing WIOA as we outline that in our state plan. And then it also covers the monitoring information that's used to inform the council about our workforce system and status and support the council in fulfilling its strategic objectives. So we added in some clarifying language regarding what DES is responsible for and what ADE is responsible for. And then we updated some references and citations. Any questions? All right, and our last one is our job center structure policy. This policy provides our local workforce boards and other system partners with instruction and guidance on how to administer our Arizona at Work job centers and the overall service delivery system. And so some of the public comments ask that we add some clarifying language defining the difference between the physical job center and the overall one-stop system, because not all of the partners are located in our actual job centers. So we added some clarifying language on that. And then we added some additional language on electronic delivery and in-person services. So really making sure that electronic services don't replace in-person services, that we still have a lot of options available for our job seekers and our employers. Any questions? All right, I will pass it back over.
Aaron, can you go back to where it lists all of them, or whoever's driving? Kennedy, yeah, all the way back to where it lists all.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, perfect. Great. Any questions? Okay. In that case, do I have a motion to adopt the policies as presented?
This is Audrey, so moved.
Thank you, Audrey. Second,
Second, Kathy Raymond.
thank you, Kathy. All those in favor of the policies as presented, say aye.
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 All those opposed, say
Ben.
nay. All those opposed, say nay. All right, policies are adopted. Thank you, Kennedy, for all that work. All right, and now we'll proceed, as we had discussed before, with the actual nominations and election of the vice chair and second vice chair. So Kennedy and Aaron, over to you for that process.
Thank you. So as I talked about before in our bylaws, we made some changes to develop a new structure for our executive committee. So we added in the positions of vice chair and second vice chair to be voted on, and 3 additional members which will be selected by the chair. Those do not need a vote. So vice chair and second vice chair need to be elected and voted on by the members of the council. One important thing to note is that the position of chair, vice chair, and second vice chair all have to come from business members to comply with WIOA. So the vice chair and second vice chair nominations have to be representatives of business. And then elections, as written in our bylaws now, elections will occur at the first regularly scheduled meeting of each calendar year as needed. So on an election cycle every 3 years, or if a vacancy happens to occur and we need to fill that position. So as the bullet notes, we'll be holding our full council meeting today, or our elections at our full council meeting after this. I will pass it to Erin.
Thank you. So the 2 positions that we have opened right now is the vice chair, and the vice chair will perform the chair's duties in the event of the chair's absence at meetings or in circumstances where the chair is unable to attend. The chair will relinquish those duties to the vice chair. So for the second vice chair, in the absence of both the council chair and the vice chair, the second vice chair will perform all duties of the chair. And I will pass it over to Chairman Gaspers. Do we have any questions beforehand?
Questions before we proceed? Okay. And then in that case, nominations are now open for the vice chair of the Workforce Arizona Council. Are there any nominations for vice chair?
Yes, I am Audrey Bohannon, and I would like to nominate John Walters for the vice chair of the Workforce Arizona Council.
Thank you, Audrey. John Walters, do you accept the nomination for vice chair?
Yes, this is John Walters. I do accept the nomination for vice chair.
Thank you, John. John has accepted the nomination. Are there further nominations? As there is only one nomination, let's give it one more minute. Any other nominations? All right, then in that case, may I have a second to nominate John Walters as vice chair?
A second from Brian Rice.
Thank you, Brian. Any discussion? Or John, do you want to take a moment to present the case for vice chair?
I appreciate it, Chairman. I'm honored. I appreciate Audrey's nomination. I think it's a great honor. I know I spent a lot of time in the workforce world, and I think what we're doing here is amazing. And I would love to continue the great work that the chair does when the chair is not able to do that. So I do, again, thank you for that. I think when it's all said and done, I feel like our collective agenda is all going the same direction. How do we make Arizona even greater with a phenomenal workforce that really drives that next generation economy that can keep us a tier 1 state that others will only be jealous and continue moving here in the droves that they are.
Thank you, John. Aaron, may we have a roll call vote?
Thank you. Greg Anderson.
Indicate aye or nay,
indicate aye
or nay.
or nay. Greg Anderson. Oh, no. Dennis Anthony,
Aye.
Audrey Bohannon,
Aye.
Michelle Bolton,
Aye.
Danny Seiden. Okay. Jackie Elliott, Randall Garrison, Chairman Gaspers,
Aye.
Todd Graver, Larry Hofer,
Aye.
Scott Holman,
Aye.
Alexander Horvath, Sean Hutchinson,
Aye.
Willard James,
Aye.
Kristen Mackey, Deborah Margraf, David Martin, Bobby D. McCormick, Carla Moran,
Aye.
Brian Rice,
Aye.
Stephen Richer. He was John Walters,
Aye.
Sandra Watson, Thomas Winkle,
Aye.
Daniel Witt,
Aye.
Supervisor Bill Gates, and Kathy Raymond.
Aye.
Thank you.
All right, hearing all ayes, the vote for Vice Chairman Walters passes. Congratulations, John. I appreciate, John, your willingness to serve in this role. I know you've been on the council, I believe, as long as I have, and the position of having led on committee structures has really been greatly appreciated by this council and all of the hard work that you've put into it. Also particularly want to call it my thanks for your vocal advocacy and support for apprenticeships in Arizona and showing all the breadth of possibility with the apprenticeship system. And lastly, just as a citizen, thank you for your service as a veteran and your passion for how we can continue to better serve veterans across the country. Okay. Nominations then are now open for the second vice chair of the Workforce Arizona Council. Are there nominations for second vice chair?
Yes, Chairman, this is John Walters. I'd like to nominate Audrey Bohannon for second vice chair.
Audrey Bohannon, do you accept the nomination for second vice chair?
I do. Thank you.
Audrey Bohannon has accepted a nomination. Are there any further nominations for second vice chair? Seeing none, may I have a second to nominate Audrey Bohannon as second vice chair?
Second. This is Kathy Raymond.
Thank you, Kathy. Any discussion? And also Audrey, to you to talk about the position of second vice chair.
Well, I am incredibly passionate about workforce and talent, especially since I'm an HR professional and I'm working in healthcare. And there are not enough individuals ready now for the positions that we have. And I know that there are private employers like myself that are struggling. And so there is an absolute need for us to be innovative, to challenge our workforce boards to be innovative, and for us to connect applicants and employers and education in more innovative ways. So anytime I get a chance to step up and support that process, the answer is going to be yes for me. So I look forward to working with all of you if you choose to give me this opportunity
This
to
is
serve as
Kathy.
your second chair. Yes, Kathy.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
No worries.
No, we're good. I'm done. Thank you.
Thanks, Audrey. Any other discussion? All right, then Aaron, may we have a roll call vote, please?
Okay. Dennis Anthony,
Aye.
Audrey Bohannon,
Aye.
Michelle Bolton,
Aye.
Chairman Mark Gaspers,
Aye.
Larry Hofer,
Aye.
Scott Holman,
Aye.
John Hutchinson,
Aye.
Willard James,
Aye.
Carla Moran,
Aye.
Brian Rice,
Aye.
John Walters,
Aye.
Thomas Winkle,
Aye.
Daniel Witt,
Aye.
Kathy Raymond.
Aye.
Thank you.
So all votes in favor. I would like to congratulate Audrey Bohannon for the role of second vice chair. Well, thank you, everybody, for your support of this process, and also just my gratitude to John and Audrey for your willingness to serve in this role. I know that you do fully appreciate all the work that is in front of us. And particularly Audrey, thank you for your willingness to have stepped up this past year to take on Quality Workforce Committee and all the leadership and great direction and strategy you brought to our team. So thank you for taking on this opportunity for all of us. Also noting that there is, with our new structure, executive committee, which does extend to our title partners. So we welcome them to the executive team, as well as 3 spots to be appointed by the chair. I do want to have the opportunity to have discussions with all of those that might be considered, which I haven't quite gotten through yet. So we will post those once we have appointed fully. But I do want to thank and congratulate Will James for his willingness to serve in one of those 3 roles. I know Will has been a tremendous support and really helped drive our first working group in terms of where we're headed with our strategy, and brings a range of experience that has really helped shape that. So grateful for Will's support for us in joining the executive committee, and we'll keep you posted on the rest. So thank you, Will. Okay. Proceeding forward, we'll get on to our local plan modifications. Stacy will be giving us an update, and following this, we will have a vote.
So some continued business from our last quarter meeting. If you remember, we did present Coconino County for a just a recommended approval conditionally, depending on whether or not they got their draft plan modifications signed by their Board of Supervisors. And so they did get that conditional approval in November, and they were able to complete their plan, get final signatures from the Board of Supervisors in December of 2022. For Northeastern Arizona, they were somewhat behind based on staffing issues. They did not have an executive director of the workforce board. So we did approve a second extension for Northeastern Arizona in November with a deadline of December 31st. And if you recall, with that December 31st deadline, we did set some expectations that if they did not meet that deadline, we may move down the substantial violation process. However, they did meet all the timelines that we outlined, and they had their final draft plan modification approved and signed by their Board of Supervisors on December 13th of 2022. And then the 19 tribal nations, as you're aware, still are experiencing some compliance issues. They are due to submit their local plan and their local plan modifications. And so based on where they're currently at, they will request an extension with a deadline of March 10th Connie did just put in the comments or in the chat that their draft plan is out for public comment right now. And so based on the timeline that they have provided to DES and to the Office of Economic Opportunity, they plan to have their board approve and sign off on their plan March 8th of 2023. And they would like to get an extension through March 10th of 2023 for that final plan to be submitted and reviewed by the council, DES and OEO. Back to you, Chair Gaspers.
All right, thank you, Stacey. I know that we've seen all the work that has been done here through our various committees over the past quarters. So thank you to all of the DES and our state OEO teams in partnership with our local areas here. I know that there's been challenges, but I've seen all the tremendous work that's happened to work collaboratively on those. So fully confident that we seem to be on the right track. So with that, I'd ask for a motion to approve completed local plan modifications and the request for extension.
This is Walters, so moved.
Thank you, John. Second.
This is Audrey, second.
Thank you, Audrey. All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed say nay. Motion passes. Thank you, Stacy. And now Yavapai County Workforce Development Board discussion and vote. Nancy Meaden will from DES will lead the discussion, and there will be a vote following this discussion as well. Nancy, do you want to come up here?
Sure.
Thank you, Chairman Gass. Good afternoon. I'm here to talk about a request that DES received from the Yavapai County Workforce Development Board to extend their current contract with the NACOG, which is the Northern Arizona Council of Governments. And here's some background as to why we're asking for that why we're presenting this to the council today. Under WIOA, the regulations and the council's local government's policy, a local workforce development board may also serve as the staff for the one-stop operator and service provider with the approval of the council. And so NACOG has been the service provider for they've been the one-stop operator and service provider for adults and youth and dislocated workers up in Yavapai County for several years. But they are also the employer of the staff to the Workforce Development Board up there. And that's pursuant to an employee sharing an agreement, which was set up to help meet some of the firewalls that are required under WIOA. Specifically, if one entity is serving there's multiple functions in WIOA. And if one entity is serving in a capacity to perform certain functions or more than one functions, they have to have firewalls to ensure that their role performing one function does not supersede their roles performing the other functions. So next slide, please. The contract between NACOG and the Workforce Development Board ended on June 30th. And at the time, DES agreed to a short extension until December 2022 to allow primarily for a continuation of services. There were issues there was an emergency, a health emergency with the consultant that they had used to procure a new contract. But in November, the Workforce Development Board contacted DES and requesting another extension as they had undergone 2 competitive procurements and which had closed with no responses. So DES agreed to the extension through March, again, just to allow for some continuation of services to the citizens of Yavapai County. But we also asked the Workforce Development Board to give us their plan on how they were going to proceed and moving forward in identifying a service provider. We also informed them that we would have to bring this matter to the council for their approval. So the board did submit a plan, and DES, after consulting with the Office of Economic Opportunity, did agree with this plan. The plan is to extend the current contract, and that would be for a continuation of services. And actually that is now till, I believe, till June 30th. They were going to have an open RFP coming out on March the 1st, but they've actually been ahead of schedule for that. And the RFP was issued on February 15th. And then after approval of by the Workforce Development Board and the County Board of Supervisors as the grant recipient for a proposal in response to the RFP, they would be negotiating a new agreement by no later than May 31st. So services may begin on July 1st. So we did agree with this, and we agreed to the continuation of their extension until June 30th with their contract with NACOG. And that's what we're asking for the council to also approve this request. And I believe Terry Drew was on the line, the board director, earlier. I believe she might be on there. She is. So if you have any questions, either Terry or I could be are available to answer them.
Questions for Nancy or Terry? Hearing none, then do I have a motion to approve the request for extension until June 30th? June 30th, 2023.
This is Audrey.
Thank you, Audrey. It's good to have a second vice chair. Thank you, Audrey. Do I have a second?
A second.
Thank you, Sean. All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed say nay. Motion passes. Thank you, Nancy. And I believe you're sticking with us to lead the discussion about statewide performance.
Yes, and this hopefully sharing some good news here. But in order, I'll have to act a little, what I call wonky here to sort of set the stage. All core programs in WIO, all 6 core programs that are listed up on the slide that you have on the slide there, are eventually required to meet 6 primary individual indicators, as well as meeting like an overall score that you see in the very far right corner and to the bottom of each. They have to have overall scores as well under WIOA. And these are the programs, and this was the performance assessments that were developed by both the U.S. Department of Labor and the Department of Education. Those 2 agencies planned an incremental approach, beginning with program year 20, which is the program year that started July 1st of 2020 and ended June 30th, 21. And also for then the program year 21, which is the year that just ended on June 30th of 22. And with a plan to assess like 5 indicators in more indicators in the program year PY22, which is the one we're in now. But because of the impact of COVID and continued issues with how the performance is to be assessed at the national level, both Department of Labor and Department of Education issued a joint statement in October 21 that only for PY20 and PY21, only titles 1 and 3 would be assessed. And so basically those are the Department of Labor programs. Title 2 and Title 4 would not be assessed during these 2 years. Just as a side note, the last indicator, the one with the NAs in the boxes, for information is the Department of Labor and Department of Education have not defined this indicator, so it will not be assessed until it is defined. We've shared their proposed definition during committee meetings in the fourth quarter of 2022. But at this point, there are no firm plans as to when that measure will be assessed. Okay. So what they determined for the individual indicator scores for Title I and Title III is those individual boxes, the score must not fall below 50% of the adjusted level of performance. And that will also carry forward for Title II and Title IV eventually. In the future, they're also going to indicate each indicator across the board will need to have a score of 90% or higher. And so, and as well as the single indicator scores must also be 90% or higher. These are the measures that were assessed for PY21. They were also assessed in PY20. And that's for adults, dislocated worker and youth and Wagner-Peisers. It's the employment rate, the second quarter after the exit of the participant exited from the program, as well as the median earnings for the second quarter, which is the earnings individuals would have made for the full 3 months of a quarter. So how did we do? As you can see, all of the, under every one of those boxes, it had to be 50% or higher. As you can see, all of them are above 50%. Just to give you context, these are the score is actually the computation of what was actually performed compared to what they call the adjusted performance level, which is the level that the state is based on some economic criteria is expected to attain. So for the first box, if you'll notice with adults, the expected employment rate, the second quarter after exit is 74.2. And we actually made 68.5%. So our score is 92. It's the difference of that two, and it's 92.2%. So if you drop down to the earnings, you'll notice that in all of those categories, we exceeded what was expected. So for like the adult, we were expected to our participants were expected to earn $6,222 in their second quarter after exiting the program, but they actually earned $7,990. So we met our performance. And so we will, we proceed now with, we're going to be using these same performance indicators to assess how the local workforce development boards, how they performed. And we are using the same 50% or higher for the standard for the employment rate in the second quarter after exit and the median earnings second quarter after exits. And it strictly will be for adults, dislocated worker and youth, since the locals, the Wagner-Peiser is measured at a statewide level. It's not measured at the local workforce board level. Any questions?
And I will know that we talked about an executive committee. It'll be interesting to watch this because of kind of where that marker was program year 21, and a number of our companies still facing a lot of challenge in our citizens where we were with the pandemic. So thank you for that, Nancy, and it'll be good to kind of track that as we go forward. Any other questions for Nancy? Okay, thank you, Nancy. All right, now Stacy will be giving an update regarding the strategic plan working group. Please note there will be a vote following this update.
All right, thank you, Chair Gaspers. So for those of you that have been involved in the strategic plan work group, I thank you. It's been a really great conversation and we've gotten a lot accomplished. The purpose of the strategic plan work group is not to replace our state planning by no means. It's actually to document and create more of a vision and scope of work or priority document for our Workforce Arizona Council. So the intent of the strategic plan would serve as kind of that playbook to our state plan for the next couple of years. And it would help develop some of the strategies that will be outlined in the state plan. But with the strategic plan, at least our council will know exactly what they're charged with, what initiatives take priority, and where we really need to focus our efforts. So the work group structure, like I said, has been pretty robust. We've actually had participation from a few of our local workforce board directors, our partners at DES, several council members, and then representation from each of our title programs 1 through 4 and business services. So it was really important to have that combination of individuals join because of the work that we're accomplishing. We've held weekly meetings. And I would say each week there have maybe only been 2 or 3 individuals that were unable to attend. So it's been a really great process thus far. One of the first things that we wanted to really focus on was understanding, what each area's local plans said, what the previous year state plans said, and really what our council wanted to focus on. So we needed to revise the council's mission and vision statement. These were pretty dated. And we wanted to ensure that through our conversations, we were able to capture every population that was important to our state. So not only our priority populations, but individuals with disabilities, our veterans, and definitely our employers. So you'll see on the screen that I have the old mission and vision statement documented, and I'm not going to read those aloud, but I'm going to give you just a second to read them on your own. Okay, go to the next slide. And then when we presented the revised Workforce Arizona Council mission and vision to the executive committee last week, we did have a pretty good conversation around some of the pieces that may have been missing out of the mission and vision statement. And one of the items that were brought up is that we focused a lot on the participants and those different populations that we wanted to ensure we served, but we may have left off the importance of the employer in the vision statement specifically. So the group came up with the mission and vision that you see on the screen, and I will read these. The mission of the Workforce Arizona Council is to develop and support an inclusive and equitable workforce system that connects business, education, and job seekers that results in a healthy economy in Arizona. One thing that I want to say about the healthy economy, and I think it was Audrey that brought it up in our work group, was that we don't necessarily as a state focus enough on human services and how we need to help bridge the gaps for a more prosperous or healthy economy for the people that we serve. And so we really wanted to include that kind of twist that had that real, human service caring approach, if you will. And so that was really one of the main concerns that drove our mission statement. And then our proposed vision statement is the vision of the Workforce Arizona Council is to create a future where every Arizonan has the opportunity to reach their full potential through access to meaningful employment while meeting employer needs by driving the economic growth and prosperity of our communities. So again, we needed to make sure that we emphasize the need to serve both the participants that enter our system and the employers, and really build on that economic growth. And again, that human service piece of our communities. So I will turn it back over to you, Chair Gaspers, for a vote.
And any questions or discussion? And first of all, just appreciate the good, robust discussion in exec committee. and the working group responding to that request. Discussion? All right, then do I have a motion to approve the mission statement and vision statement as proposed?
So moved, Kathy Raymond.
Thank you, Kathy. Second?
I second Will James.
Thanks, Will. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
All those opposed say nay. The motion passes. Thank you to the work group for all the work there and setting our direction going forward. With that, we'll hand it to, I believe, Rachel on the line. Rachel Tashbook will be leading the discussion regarding labor market in-demand industries and in-demand occupations. There will be a vote following this discussion.
Good afternoon, Council. Thank you so much for having me to speak with you today. My name is Rachel Tashbook, for those of you that don't know, and I am an economist on the economic analysis team at the Office of Economic Opportunity. I was asked to talk to everyone today about our in-demand industries and occupations and give a little bit of clarification of what those are, how they're used, and then tell you about the recommendations that the Strategic Planning Committee came up with for the selections for the upcoming 4 years. So to begin, what does in-demand mean? I think a lot of us have heard the phrase in-demand industries or in-demand occupations used in a lay term, but depending on the different government program, there might be different definitions for it. Just thinking even of Kathy on the call and the CTE programs, they have a totally different understanding for CTE, what in-demand means versus what WIOA allows us to look at. So for WIOA, we have a fairly broad definition that an industry can be considered in demand as long as it has substantial current or potential impact on the state, region, or local economy. And it should contribute to the growth and stability of other businesses or growth of the industry sector in the community. And there are many different reasons why the State Council would be interested in this. But firstly, because our definition is so broad, WIOA looks to the State Council for selecting what industries and what occupations we should identify at the state level to be in demand. Each local board will pick in-demand industries and occupations for their own local and regional planning, but at the state level, this is a council responsibility. If you don't mind going to the next slide. So the in-demand industries impact several different board functions and board opportunities. And so first, the one that everyone's probably already aware of is that it helps us determine our workforce board membership. Business representation on the council does need to be representative of the in-demand industries. As well, it helps us focus our statewide employer engagement efforts. So if any of you or your businesses have had the opportunity to work with Kelly Hart's team and the Employer Engagement Administration, or some of the employment support on the OEO side, a lot of our efforts are supposed to be focused on these in-demand industries that the council's identifying as being significant and strategic for the state to focus on. As well, it supports us with the development of targeted career pathways for all WIOA program participants. There are a lot of different ways we can do that. The economic analysis team focuses this a little bit more on the occupation side, but when the WIOA partners are trying to figure out where they have opportunities to partner on targeted career pathways, helping them know what industries are most significant for them to prioritize first can be really useful. Finally, I had one more bullet. Thank you. Finally, the in-demand industries help us determine what industries we should focus on for our strategies. And that's one of the reasons why we're talking about it to you today is before we jump into the state plan development process and strategy selection. It's helpful to know what the in-demand industries are, because maybe you want one or two of the strategies to focus on supporting maybe a few of the in-demand industries. So maybe you have goals relating to outreach to those employers or development of career pathways for specific industries. And so if we can know what industries and occupations are important before we start that state planning process, hopefully that'll make it a little bit easier for us to focus on what strategies will make the biggest impact for these industries. Thank you. So like Stacy was saying before, there was a state planning or a state, sorry, Stacy, so I don't mess it up. Do you mind saying what the phrasing was for the committee? It was
The strategic plan?
Thank you. The strategic plan group put together some recommendations, but they did want to get council feedback on this and see if it should be tweaked. So the industries that the work group was fairly confident in included construction, finance and insurance, healthcare and social assistance, transportation, warehousing, manufacturing, and information technology. Just coincidentally, we did look at updated labor market information for these, and these are the same. Those are all consistent with what the council picked last cycle, so about 4 years ago in 2019. One that is different is previously we had professional and technical services on this list, and instead the group was considering including retail trade because it two reasons. One, because it has a large employment base in the communities and in the state of Arizona. It simply hires a large share of the population, so working with them could be strategic in that sense. And then as well, post-pandemic, we've seen a lot of growth, primarily because they lost so many jobs during the pandemic, that since then they've been having to do a lot of hiring to refill those positions. So those are reasons to include it on the list. A reason there might be some question as to including it on the list is just because of the wages, which haven't been as high as some of the other industries, and we haven't seen as much wage growth as maybe some of the other industries. So that was one that the committee wanted to bring to the full council to get opinions on and see if we want to include retail or not for the selection. One point I did make at executive committee that I would make again today is that the WIOA system does not turn away employers that are looking for help or not recommend people. Sorry, they don't. So if an employer were to come to the workforce system and look for help, your selection would not make it so that employer is unable to get help. All it would mean is that when we're doing that strategic planning and career pathway and trying to be meaningful and intentional with our strategic planning, that we would be focused on the industries that we think would make the biggest impact. So with that, I'd love to turn it to the council members and see what thoughts you had on this before we vote on the industries.
This is Kathy Raymond, and when we look at some of our rural communities, retail may be the only industry in those. Although they may not be a large amount of them, but they still have that need.
Right, that makes sense. Does anyone else have any thoughts on whether or not retail should be included in this list?
Kathy, I guess I'd ask though, I mean, it may be a large employer, particularly in some rural areas, but I guess I'd ask whether, as from a local perspective though, do we see it as a critical industry that we need to try and support, with some innovative programming to grow? I mean, I don't know that if you look, I guess the question I'd say is if you're in a local area, we'd say, we really want to grow retail. It's not to say that we're not supporting retail, but that like our local area's strategy is that we want to be known for retail. And I don't know that that's the case. It's just default may be a big base. Other thoughts along that line?
I know we had a big discussion earlier on the retail, not retail, and I really do appreciate that perspective of some of our rural locations that may be the only source of business. And that was one I personally hadn't considered. So I do like that lens. I think in the end, it's really that circle of the chicken or the egg, right? We need retail to provide for construction workers and for all the other roles and jobs out there. At the same time, it's maybe not the long-term roles that we want our economy based on. I think that's really where the debate comes. And so I'm comfortable with the amendment, or as it's been adjusted, just on a personal note. So I think it's something we just can't ignore today, but it's something I think we definitely want to trend away from as maybe our main emphasis areas. But it's something that, our state is still very, very reliant on. I think not supporting it would be detrimental.
Thank you, John. Any other discussion? So would somebody put forward a motion to include and then note which industries you'd like to include so we're all clear? Anyone?
I'm happy to take a stab at it. If I missed something, please feel free to correct me. But I put forward a motion for our strategic plan to include construction, finance and insurance, healthcare, social assistance, transportation, warehousing, manufacturing, information technology, and retail.
Thank you, John. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Kathy. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion passes. Thank you for the discussion on it, and thank you for the work of the working group.
Thank you. We did have one more if there is time. Within, so in addition to the industries, we do have an opportunity to pick the in-demand occupations as well. The committee had talked quite a bit about, there's so many options for how you can go about the occupations. It can be stratified a million different ways. But the group last thought that perhaps the most strategic way to move forward is the Office of Economic Opportunities Economic Analysis Team rates all occupations on a 5-star rating model, with 5-star being the best rated occupation and 1-star being the worst rated occupation, based off of employment level, employment growth, projected openings, and wages, among other variables. And so each star rating is about 20% of the total jobs at that education level. One of the advantages of using this model is that it helps folks know what the best jobs are by education level. So if somebody goes into a job center, they can know what the top rated jobs are, maybe that just need a high school diploma, but then also the next education level up, so they can apply for jobs that they qualify for now and also know what education to try and aim for the next level of education that's appropriate for them. And so the group thought that perhaps if the council picked all the 4- and 5-star rated occupations, so about the top 40% of jobs by education level, that would help us focus folks on strategic occupations within the in-demand industries, but not make it so restrictive. Like if we just picked the 5-star and there weren't a lot of different types of jobs for different personality types and things like that. The group also recommended, and again, this is kind of an off chance, but just in case, these are large industries, so we didn't really see this play out. But in theory, if there are not at least a couple options for every education level, including some of the lower star rated occupations on the list, just so that we make sure that there are at least a few options by education level on the list. If this is something that the council would support, it would be helpful to vote on this as well.
Okay. Any questions on this? And again, we're referencing that these occupations mapping to the in-demand industries that we just voted on with that percentage structure.
Correct. And so some of the local boards are not choosing to map their in-demand occupations. They don't have to all relate. You can have occupations outside the in-demand industries, but the strategic plan work group thought it would make the most sense at the state level if we really focused the in-demand occupations to be within these industries that we identified, and we looked at the best well-rounded occupations within the in-demand industries.
And I appreciate from the executive committee discussion, not wanting to like pick and choose. And that this structure allows for reflection of where the industry is actually headed. And also just knowing that, there is tremendous amount of growth within an industry and within a company, and not presuming that we know the right path within each company. So any discussion? Okay, then in that case, do I have a motion to approve the in-demand occupations as presented?
Motion to approve.
I missed, was that?
This is Carla.
Carla, thank you. Second?
Second, Brian Rice.
Thank you, Brian. All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed say nay. Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rachel.
Absolutely.
And I think that is it. What I will just say, first of all, thank you for all of us sticking with. I know, talk to those council members that we do want to move to be strategic and a lot of discussion and have council meetings that are set up in such a way to draw a lot of discussion and also to hear from you, from your industries. I appreciate the discussion on apprenticeships, particularly from Dennis and Willie. We had a lot to get through today, and that's due to all the work that the team is doing. But hopefully that's putting us in a great position this year to have council meetings that'll be a little bit more interactive. But thanks to the team, because we needed to get through all of this, and thank you to all our council members. And in particular, I know it was talked about earlier, but I would love for you all to put a marker on your calendars for June 29th and 30th. I think we will really tremendously benefit from as many of you who can be there. I know it's a busy vacation time, but if you're in town, please come for both days if possible, or at least one day, because I think we'll get a lot of interaction and opportunity for us to have great discussion with all those attending across local areas. And from a national perspective, we really appreciate there are truly tremendous leaders coming into town that are doing great work across all of the states. And so to have them here spending time with us, I think is going to be tremendous perspective for all of us, and actually perspective for them as they're talking to other states and seeing what's really going well here in Arizona. So with that, do I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
So moved. This is Audrey.
Thank you, Audrey. Second?
Second, Brian Rice.
Thank you, Brian. All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed? Meeting's adjourned. Thank you, everybody. We'll see
Well
you soon.
done.
Thank you.